Same as the previous installment, Soulhome, Rainhorn remains relatively hesitant about setting into motion events that would drive the story's main plot. There are a few new revelations about the outworlder conspiracy, hints about how vastly more interwoven and influential this threat is, but the second book of the Weirkey Chronicles still uses the dynamic between the main characters as its main agent to tell a story. Before talking about the characters, I feel compelled to talk about one detail, nothing more than a minor addition to the book, but that is always welcome and a time saver. The Weirkey Chronicles features a summary of the previous stories. I know this will not be a big deal to some people. To me, it is an absolute delight, even if Soulhome's story is still fresh on my mind. This will help out catching up with the next volumes. Thank you, Sarah Lin. Theo's party remains relatively unchanged, save for the wholesome addition of a new member, Senka. She comes out of nowhere, which is not a bad thing and only serves to aid the seriousness of her origins, and brings along many lighthearted moments while abstaining from being obnoxious. Theo also gets some needed point-of-view shifts. However, even with all the revelations from Nada's backstory and Senka's introduction, she essentially reads similarly as in Soulhome. This is undoubtedly noticeable, but all points to it being further developed in the group's future Outworld adventures. Theo goes without saying. His development is slow, but always consistent in a palpable way, as you can see him making mistakes and learning from them. One of the main weaknesses of Soulhome was the world building. Taishan felt small, without important landmarks, obscure historical events, and the dangers felt dull. So it is a nice treat to see it into some much-needed expansion. Although it is not properly explored, the new areas of the planet promise all the things I felt lacking in the first book, and ceasing the world, hopping for a few books, could do wonders to improve upon world building. Sometimes, less is more. Now, as all good things must come with a balancing downside, Dukeson comes to reality only slightly better than Taishan in the first volume. I will not overly extend upon that topic, since the negatives are similar to what I already mentioned about Taishan in Book 1. It's however disappointing to abandon a world you only just started to develop only to start the process all over again in another one. I am also starting to notice a pattern in how each race embodies different tropes, like the arrogant young master and the obsequious servant. It is entertaining to see how such extreme behaviors function when applying them to the Dukeson and Taishan's culture, and though that can lead to obnoxious and silly situations, the book handles the exposure to this aspect of their society expertly when it comes to subverting genre tropes. However, this strict insertion of a trope to define a whole culture leads to the inevitable shallowness of mannerisms, making a fictional character read like a caricature. With its short length, Rainhorn never feels boring, and though it is not reliant on the main plot to drive the story, Theo's party manages to keep the engagement and immersion on point. This is shaping up to be one of the must-reads in the genre, but whether or not that comes to realization will depend on how well the next few entries manage to improve upon the story. Altogether, Rainhorn tells a much more compelling story than Soulhome, and I cannot wait to see this level of quality only improving in the next volumes.